X-Men Days of Future Past comes out on May 23rd, 2014. Before I get in my notes, I just want to say I'm really looking forward to this movie. I'm really intrigued by the time travel aspect, the cast, the new and the old coming back. Not really old, I mean, the first X-Men movie was just like 13 years ago. But I'm just so curious about who's going back, if anyone's going forward in time, what the major threat is. And I did watch the Comic-Con panel, and I'll get to those notes in a bit. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this movie. I'm glad Bryan Singer, who directed X-Men and X2, X-Men United, one of the best hero movies in my opinion, he's returning. And anyways, let's get into the notes. So, like I said, Bryan Singer directed X2, then chose Superman Returns over X3 due to studio deadlines. So, not necessarily like chose it, like I'd rather do this instead of that. Couldn't do both. They both came out, the same year, same summer. It was kind of disappointing because, no offense to Radner, but Singer built such a great story with X and X2. And X3, really interested in what he would have done with that movie. If he would have had focus on the Sentinels, focus on Jean Grey, anything to do with the Cure, who knows. But it sounds like this movie, it's not going to replace that at all, but it's going to kind of ignore some of the things that happen, some of the events in that movie. But I guess we'll see. Lots of the cast showed up at the Comic-Con panel, which is nice to see. So, not really spoilers ahead, but some information about the plot. Kitty Pryde, aka Shadowcat, she sends someone back in time. It sounds like it's Wolverine. Sends his consciousness back to his younger self. And it's nice because Hugh Jackman can play the Wolverine in 73 and the one in 2013, because Wolverine is ageless. Bryan Singer called this an inbetweequel. So not really a sequel or a prequel per se, but it's a sequel to X-Men First Class. And, well, I guess not really a prequel to anything. But that's where it fits in the X-Men universe. So I'm wondering, we have the Wolverine movie coming out in just a few days. And that takes place right after X3. We see Wolverine, Logan dealing with, the loss of Jean Grey. Everything he's haunted by. And then I wonder if at the end they're going to tease Days of Future Past. And if that's when Kitty, finds Logan or something, or he goes back to the school and then she sends him back in time. Who knows? The X-Men timeline was First Class to reboots or just an Xavier Magneto origin story, as in no franchise or trilogy planned, because this isn't really a direct sequel to that. What do you think? X-Men and Magneto working together again? X3 not counted for in the timeline. Of course, we see an older Xavier in this movie. So, Bryan Singer during the Comic-Con panel, he mentioned that, he referenced X3 at the very end when Charles's consciousness is transferred. But they said they're going to find a way, or they found a way to bring him back. I'm not sure how it's going to work. He could be walking. Who knows? Some things have hinted at that. First Class was set in 1962. Days of Future Past. That cast will be in the 1970s, probably 73. No Riptide, Azazel, Angel, Emma Frost, Banshee. So young Magneto doesn't have his old team, maybe a new team. But we'll get to the rest of the cast in just a bit. Matthew Vaughn was going to return to direct, but decided against it. The plot of this movie is the X-Men travel back in time to change a major historical event, and it impacts humans and mutants. Notice it's to change an event. not to stop it necessarily. So I'm curious, maybe I'm reading too much into that, but it sounds like they go back and they just change something. So we'll see what that's all about. And page 2. Matthew Vaughn was going to make a direct sequel set in the 1970s. Maybe opening with like something to do with a Kennedy assassination being caused by Magneto. Storm will not fly or fight in this movie because of Halle Berry's pregnancy, which you can understand, but still it's like, couldn't they wait? Or couldn't she film this? I mean, talk about bad timing. Because in X3, I mean, what I had heard is that she didn't want to return because she wanted her character to have a bigger part like she did in X2. In X3, she's flying all around, fighting, and now she won't do any of that. It's like, so now you don't want more screen time? Because it's really going to minimize the role. I mean, I would hope this movie's going to have a lot of action. But it's like, I guess she'll just be in the future and not doing much. We'll see. So the cast. So we have Mystique, just a young Mystique. Same with Beast. Wolverine, we're going to have, we can't really say young or old, but he's going to be in both timelines. Rogue, Kitty Pryde, Shadowcat. Bolivar Trask. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. We have a young and an old Magneto. Same with Xavier. We have Storm. Rumored that Cyclops is in this movie, played by James Marsden. That is just a rumor, though. Don't hold me to that. Quicksilver, Warpath, Iceman, Havoc, who is in First Class, Colossus, Bishop, Blink, and Sunspot. Really interesting names. I'm not sure with Quicksilver, Warpath, Bishop, Blink, Sunspot if they're good or bad. But it's nice to go into these movies fresh. I used to watch the cartoon show when I was a kid, and I'm sure I read some of the comics, but, back in those days, it's like, nobody will make a movie out of this. You can't do all this stuff. New team with a young Magneto. Do more future mutants travel back in time. And some more notes. The Sentinels. Are those a part of the major event? To do with the plot. Older Xavier walks. There's a cartoon, an animated version of Days of Future Past. I found it on YouTube last night, but I don't really want to be spoiled, I want to go into this movie fresh. And Kitty has that time travel power. So obviously they didn't mention it in X3. When she can walk through walls and that. So I'm not sure if this is a power that she obtains or just always had and wasn't referenced. I think it's interesting how she can transfer Logan's consciousness into his old self. I'm interested in how that works. Time travel is something I'm definitely fascinated by. So for me, this movie is a definite go. If I were a studio exec, I'd be like, go with it. You got the green light. I'd be like, we haven't even told you who's in the movie. I'm like, time travel, mutants, green light. But those are my notes on the movie. Like I said, really looking forward to it. Hopefully we'll get a teaser trailer within the next few months. It's so exciting to see the new cast and the old cast back together. As much as I'd wanted a direct sequel to First Class, I think this movie is going to work. Bryan Singer coming back, and it's just going to be a different kind of movie. But we'll see what happens with the First Class cast. If they're going to come back for a third movie, it's going to be like a direct sequel, or if they're just going to, who knows? There's talk about Wolverine working, with another team and some other franchise, maybe even Avengers, who knows? They cross over characters and that. But we'll see what happens. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Who are you excited to see? What do you want to see? What do you think is the major event that they have to go back and change? And the First Class cast, I'm trying to say not 5 times fast, and the original cast, what do you want to see from them after this movie? Do you want more sequels? Do you want them to work together again? But let me know, leave some video responses. Thank you very much for listening. And stay tuned for even more right here on Ron Jammin' TV.